Who says I forgot about this series? Okay, I absolutely did forget about this series. But let's go. For those who don't remember, this is the series where I pick what every single author does best. And I had to change a couple. Because some of the ones in this one, I've now read more books by the author. And I looked at it and I was like, nah, I got a different thing now. Or I read someone else and I was like, maybe they're not the best at that. But for those who are new to this, this is me picking one thing that every author is the best at, and this is not the thing they are the best at relative to themselves. This is something that I think they are better at than everyone else I've read. So sometimes I have to get really, really, really specific. And sometimes it's actually just me backhandedly insulting them. But this is going to be, I think, L through R. So, first person we got is Mark Lawrence, who I've only read one trilogy by, which is Book of the Ancestor, which I liked. So this is not one of my favorite authors, but was a really easy thing, which is generally opening lines. All his opening lines go hard. It's something I legitimately just think he's the best at. Like, literally pick any Mark Lawrence book, read the first line, and it goes hard. There are some other opening lines where I'm like, that's comparably good as Mark Lawrence opening lines, but the man just wins through consistency of every single opening line being really good. And next we have someone who I changed my answer, which is Ursula K. Le Guin. I originally had Making Magic Wondrous, but then I read The Dispossessed, and I liked Earthsea. I liked The Dispossessed a lot more, so I switched it to something Dispossessed related, which I have introducing multiple sci-fi cultures naturally. I think the opening of this book is genius, and the way the protagonist asks questions about they're going to a different planet, and they're asking questions about the other person's culture, and the questions they ask also reveal things about their own culture. And in one chapter, without feeling like it's info dumping, you get a phenomenal idea of how both worldviews like vary and clash with each other, and also how both would clash with what we expect in our world. So I switched it up for Le Guin because I think either would actually... Magic Wondrous I think was close. I was like, maybe she wins, but I think she wins this pretty easily. Next, we got Fonda Lee. And for Fonda Lee, I have in-book time skips, not between book time skips. This is just Jade Legacy exists, and Jade Legacy has time skips in book, like, in a way I've never seen. I mean, that book takes place over a long time, and it's not like individual chapters cover a long time. Like, each chapter is, like, some micro thing, and then, like, that kind of all adds up. And just the fact that it worked. I mean, it was an extremely audacious, ambitious structure for the book that very easily could have ended up being controversial and failing, but, like, go look at the Goodreads review of Jade Legacy. It was not controversial and did not fail. And next we have Ken Liu. And this is another one that I changed. I originally had having a ridiculous amount of stuff happen while still let it be coherent. But I read Speaking Bones in between me making this Google spreadsheet, the original one, and Wall of Storms. The only book I'd read of him was Grace of Kings at the time. So we're upgrading him to Ken Liu has written my favorite non-idiot in fiction. If you look at my top fictional character list, you're going to note they tend to be kind of dumb. They're doing their best, okay? It's not their fault. But my favorite characters fit Chivalry Farseer, not known for the best of decisions. Harry Dresden, not known for the best of decisions. Kaladin, not known for the best of decisions. Rand, not known for the best of decisions. Jaime Lannister, really not known. I mean, he might be the smartest and best decision maker of the ones I've made so far. But my favorite character in the Dandelion Dynasty, and probably if you limit Hobb to one character, it probably is like my third favorite character in fiction, and I feel like I can't even say what bloody is because I think knowing I like them that much actually is a spoiler. But they're a genius. I almost had having like a big brain plan, because they are incredibly smart, and still a lot of the time, like, the reason I like the dumb characters is people's flaws make them more interesting, and like what about them causes to make those bad decisions is what makes them unique. But this character is one of the most like unique and morally complex and psychologically complex and compelling and tragic characters and inspiring characters that I've ever read, who like everyone has a different take on, and if you asked me, they're ridiculous. So Ken Liu gets that. Moving on, Scott Lynch. Scott Lynch gets group banter. It's one of the reasons the Gentleman Bastards is so good, because the banter between the group of the Gentleman Bastards is just perfection. It's snappy, it's just clever, and it's smart. It gives you the sense that these people have inside jokes so quickly, and it's just one of the reasons that Lies of Lochlumor is such a good book. And now George R. R. Martin. And for George R. R. Martin, so I've reread Game of Thrones since I read this, and I'm gonna not change it on my reread. I'm still gonna have this. There's maybe something else I could add, but we're gonna keep killing characters. And I think the evidence of that is that George has this reputation for killing a huge amount of characters. And it's often noted, he doesn't actually kill that many characters compared to like a lot of other fantasy authors. Like, more than average. But it's not the volume, it's the quality. George is the best at killing characters. He's the best at... A lot of the authors, like, they'll kill characters, but they're the characters you expect them to kill. And they're just killed in ways where you kind of see it coming. George has characters die in ways that feel extremely believable, but, like, are completely shocking and you don't see coming at all, but then, like, make sense in hindsight and usually move the story in a better direction. So I think his reputation comes from quality and not quantity, so I'm giving him that role. Arcady Martine only read 2 books by her. Has she only published 2 books? A Memory Called Empire and Desolation Called Peace. And I gave her Alien Stream of Conscious. This one she kind of won by default. Is what it is. Tamsin Muir. For those of you who know, Tamsin Muir has written Gideon the Ninth, which I have a interesting relationship with Gideon the Ninth. I have Zoomer humor because no one else on this list bloody does it. So she's the best at it. Whatever. Now I have Patrick Ness, who I also originally I had world building mysteries, but then I decided he loses that to Gene Wolfe. So I have deliberately writing characters who have bad grammar and spelling and like not pissing me off. So the other 2 people who I can instantly think of who've tried to do this is Patrick Rothfuss and Brent Weeks. And both of them have a character who like in the dialogue spells things wrong. And both of them drove me goddamn crazy with it. And I just couldn't tell what the person was saying half the time. And I just wanted them to write it normal. Patrick Ness, it didn't piss me off once. Like, it just gave the character a unique voice and was actually done in a way that wasn't frustrating. Thank you, Patrick Ness, you beautiful man. And next we have Terry Pratchett. Sir Terry Pratchett. I should fix that on the spreadsheet and have it as Sir Terry Pratchett. And this was a very easy one. This was combining humor and commentary. A lot of people do this. This is like Terry Pratchett built his career on being funny and having really good commentary at the same time. Like, have you read Small Gods? The entire premise of Small Gods is like, this dude becomes a prophet of a god, but the god is stuck in the body of a tortoise. Yeah. He kind of has this locked down. Pat Rothfuss, also an honorable mention for world-building mysteries. I think it's one of the reasons his series is so compelling to so many people, is just people get hooked by the questions. But I would give that to Gene Wolfe, who actually isn't what I have him listed as, but Gene Wolfe can be the best at multiple things. So for Rothfuss, the thing where I think he's the more clear winner is writing the emotional connection between a person and their musical instrument. These are all my favorite scenes in the Kingkiller Chronicles. I like the Kingkiller Chronicles. It's not one of my favorite series ever, but every single scene involving like Koth and doing music is like beautifully written and compelling. And I'm a fan of all of them, and I think it's what he's best at. And we have Christopher Rocchio as the last R. And for Christopher Rocchio, I have writing multi-century long character arcs. Which on one hand, he kind of wins by default, but on the other hand, he wouldn't win it by default. He would win either way because it's really goddamn good. So he's a protagonist who's like, writing first-person retrospective, and the retrospective version's like 800 years old or something. We don't know how old he is. He's old. And Hadrian is one of my favorite characters because of his development over time. it's actually something I'm kind of picky about. I find a lot of the time, like, really old fantasy or sci-fi characters don't come across that way, and Hadrian does, and his evolution over time, I think, is just so natural and so well done. So, this leaves one more episode to go, which will be S through W, and, like, half of it is S. It's too many, and wow, there's a lot of W's. Jeez, actually, no, more, literally, not half of it is S. It's almost all W. What's with all the fantasy authors' last name being W? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the continuation of the series. Let me know what you think of my picks. Do you think they were reasonable? Is there any authors I haven't read who you're like, they're actually even better at this? And do you think there's authors I have read who are even better than this? Curious what you think. Have a good day, everyone.